So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions.
Welcome to the Build to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with a mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more or all of it away to help MVPs. My name is Brett Swarts. Each and every episode, we're joined by the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires. They share their story, secrets, and insights with us so we can all level up and make a bigger impact in this world. I'm excited about our next guest. He's what I call a Hall of Famer in the real estate industry. He's nationally recognized real estate strategist, entrepreneur, and coach with more than 2 decades of experience helping families and investors build, protect, and transfer wealth through real estate. He's the CEO and rainmaker of the Ihara team at Keller Williams Honolulu, and he has helped facilitate over $1 billion in real estate transactions and guided more than 1,500 families in achieving their real estate and wealth building goals, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Dan Ihara. Dan, how are we doing?
Hey, very good. Thanks so much, Brett. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Excellent.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Grateful to have you on the show. And for our listeners, get to know you for the first time, would you please give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, so I live and reside in Honolulu, Hawaii. Been in real estate for over 2 decades. And when I got into real estate, I realized that I wanted to solve the biggest problems people had. And at that time, 20 years ago, the biggest problem was families fighting, right? People were passing on, and the kids didn't know what to do with it. They didn't have a plan. There was no clarity around what happens next. So then we just started providing solutions for them for their home. And then after they found out that we could help them with transitioning out of their home, then they realized that, they had other properties we call investment properties. They called them the other properties, right? And so most of our client base is the older demographic, a baby boomer and their parents, right?
Excellent. So I love it. I love that your focus has always been on solving the problems, right? Versus just, selling something, right? I think that's what will separate you and your team, as I can see from your bio and your website. So so today we're going to be talking about property decisions, avoiding family disputes and painful taxes, and creating a legacy at last, which happens to be your book as well. So what is the number one secret to avoiding family disputes? Let's start there, and then we'll work our way through the rest of it.
Well, the problem is clarity, and the solution's a conversation, but the book becomes your guide. Because in the book, we talk about through 20 years of conversations with families, and conversations that go really, really good, and some that don't. And the data says, attorneys tell us, Brett, 70% of families fight over real estate after the parents die. 70%. So if 2.1 million older adults are going to die in the next 12 months, right, with real estate, what does that tell you? We're going to have a lot of problems. And so our mission, and my wife and I are believers, and we believe that God's got us on this planet for a reason, and that's to make a difference. Not to make money, to make a difference. I think when we make a difference, then we do make money. But the focus has to be another human being. The focus has to be the care and compassion to provide a solution to a problem we know is going to happen. There's really 2 guarantees in life, Brett. In the professional world, they tell us, don't say the word guarantee, right? But there's 2 guarantees in life. Number one is, I guarantee you we're going to die one day. Maybe not today, but one day we're going to die. The second guarantee is, upon the death of the last surviving spouse, that's the date of transfer of wealth. So if you know that's going to happen, you just don't know when it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen. What's your plan such that your family doesn't fight? Because I ask all of our clients, Brett, at the end of the day, when you're gone, you want your kids to love each other? Then what's your plan? Because the data says, attorneys tell us, 70% of families don't get along. They actually have disputes. You know, I got 3 clients today, Brent, that there's a restraining order on the brother. Yeah, it's so bad that they could no longer be within 50 feet of each other. I've got another client that the sister's kicking the brother out of the house because the brother took advantage of the mother, and now the sister is a trustee that has to take care of the mother because it's her life and it's her money. And now we just kicked the son out of the house, unfortunately, through a writ of possession. It's a legal process. It's horrible. Why does this happen? Because we don't have conversations around it. We don't talk about what matters most to us. You know, I believe money is good for the good it does. And I love that you talked about in your opening stewardship, because that's the conversation we have. Are you the best steward you are? Could you be better? And what does that look like? Right? And so what we do in our consultations, we call them strategy sessions. We meet with clients for 1 hour, and within that 1 hour, I'll probably ask 50 to 70 questions. Right? Not because I'm nosy, it's because I care. Because I know my job is to help somebody unlock a belief system that they have currently, or help them see something they didn't see before. And once we do that, people open the door to possibilities of what could happen going forward. You see, as humans, we especially older adults, we have a good grasp of the past. we know the past well. We tell stories on the past, right? And we have clarity around the future. I mean, today I'm okay. I can walk today. I can do everything I need today. I can drive today. But what we don't have is a clarity on the future. And that's what I call imagination. What do you imagine the future to look like? So in our conversations, we go through a plan methodology. It's in our book. First, we talk about properties. Talk to me about the properties you have. And we do an asset performance test on all of them. We do a capital gains tax assessment on all of them to find out if my first question to somebody, Brett, is do you need the income from this investment property to sustain the life you desire? If the answer is yes, my job is to help them make more money, right? And so what we'll do is we'll analyze it first. We'll find out, we have this whole spreadsheet of 15, 30, 50 properties that somebody has, or just 2, and then we look at their cap rate, or capitalization rate, to define its yield, right? To define how well it's performing for you. And here's the thing, Brett, nobody knows their cap rate. You know that? Nobody knows. Why don't they know? Well, they don't keep track of their expenses, number 1. Number 2, they don't know the current value of the property. They just didn't keep track. Because they had a tenant there, little Johnny, he's been there 20 years, and little Johnny's a nice guy. Whenever they tell me that, I know that they didn't raise the rent. Because little Johnny's just like their family. I said to them, well, you know, in the investment world, there's only 2 types of people. There's a true investor that measures their asset and does it best for their family and stewards wealth best as possible. Or there's a philanthropist. Which one are you? And they laugh and they go, I guess I'm the philanthropist. And I go, well, which one do you want to be? They go, I guess I want to be a better steward. Okay, well, I can help you with that. So our conversations are all in questions. Because I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. It's not my money, it's not my life, it's not my properties, right? But I can understand where they are because I've been doing this so long, and I can understand what could be in the future.
Dan Ihara, this is incredible already so far. I've taken just like a page and a half of notes, and it really sounds like slowing down at least for an hour with Dan and your team, right, to ask these questions that are the most important, especially given that it's at stake. Your family's, the inheritance, but also really the relational wealth that you've helped to build with for your family. Like if you're the grandmother, grandfather, or mom or dad, and your kids, like this, it's so much more than money and real estate and taxes that are at stake here. It's the relational wealth. It's the emotional wealth. It's the spiritual wealth. It's such a bigger conversation that you're right. Most people aren't having, and they're not realizing what's at stake. I like to say, Dan, don't trade what's priceless for what's profitable, right? And too often, we're not being intentional with things in our lives. So how do you help the breakthrough questions, maybe the couple top ones that help them to really get the aha where it clicks to the priceless versus the profitable?
I think the first question is, do you need the income to sustain the life you desire? Because that's their choice. That's their desire. If I want to spend $10,000 around every single month going around the globe with my family, so be it. I can't be the judge of that person, right? So I'm going to ask it open-ended. Do you need any of the money? But you know what? Here's the thing, Brett. Most of our clients say no. They got more money than they can spend. Then my next question is that at the end of the day, when you're gone, who gets what? They go, oh, it's in the trust. I said, and what's the trust say? I said, I don't know. It's just don't worry. The trust will take care of it. I said, well, actually, will it? 70% of families are fighting. Do you know why? Because it says in your trust, likely, and for the audience, I want you to go read your trust. And you tell me what it says. And likely it says your kids share it. Well, everything's easier to share except real estate. Right? Real estate's not divisible. Right? And so then if you could bless your family today, would you? Would be the next question. If the answer is yes, this is how we unlock wealth and reposition it with the use of the 1031 exchange.
Okay.
Stewarding wealth. See, what most people see is they see an investment property with a house, with doors, windows. They think of it as a house, but no. If you only have two types of properties, one you live in and one you don't, right? Well, the one you don't, that's what we call an investment. And you can be a philanthropist or you can be a real investor. And so in my conversations, they're very simple because I keep it simple, right? And so then if it's an investment property, right? And you don't need the money. You just told me you don't need the money. If you could bless your kids today, would you? They all say, yeah. I say, well, talk to me about your kids. So then we go into their family. We talk about family. We talk about their kids. Tell me what your oldest child's name is. Is he married? What does he do? Does he have kids? Where does he live? Does he own his own home? Does he own an investment property? See, our goal is to not only pass on money, but pass on knowledge, right? And passing on knowledge and building wealth. See, as a real estate planner, what we do is we help people build wealth, protect wealth, and pass it on. Well, building wealth is something that young folks really never figured out very well, right? This generation we're in today, did you know that in 1990, Brett, the average, 1990, 50% of 35-year-olds own their own home in 1990. You know what it is today? 7. Why is that? One, they're not savers, they're spenders. They want to look like everybody else on Instagram. Number 2 is the appreciation. Inflation took off so high that they gave up. They just did. So how can you help a child or grandchild buy investment property or buy a property for themselves? Well, you unlock wealth that you don't need anymore. And so that's what we're doing. We're creating generational wealth planning systems, right? We call these pre-inheritance plans. Pre-inheritance means I'm gonna create an inheritance plan while I'm alive, while I can enjoy it, while I can see it, while I can appreciate the gratitude that comes from it. And then also spend some time there with the people that I love the most.
Dan Ihara, everybody, I want you to check out what he's doing by going to iharateam.com, iharateam.com. Over the last 18 years, the Ihara team has helped over 1,500 families reach their real estate goals and over $1 billion in transactions. I imagine probably just about every island or every place, but maybe he'll tell us that. But mainly Oahu here, it looks like. And he's with Keller Williams, and he's changing lives one home at a time. So I took another whole page of notes, Dan, because this wisdom is too good to not write down. So hopefully everyone's listening, you're rewinding and listening to what Dan's saying here, because these are the most important questions that are vital to not trading what's merely profitable for what's priceless, right? So some of the questions, right? Which one do you want to be, right? A true investor who's stewarding the wealth that's been, you've worked hard for, but it's also a blessing from the Lord, and it's an opportunity to steward that and make an impact. Or a philanthropist, right? making a good deal, which in some ways is doing a good thing, but is it really doing what's the best for your family and the future of the wealth? And then which one do you want to be? I think that's such an important question, right? Which one do you want to be? And you're not saying you have to be one or the other. Just make it really clear and let them choose. And if they say I want to be the philanthropist, say okay, that's okay, right? We have clarity, and that's okay. Yeah. And then the next question is, do you need or want the income to sustain your living you desire? Or what do you need, right? From the property or from this property, from whatever this might be. And then at the end of the day, who gets what, right? So getting real clear on what their actual living trust says. And then it likely says the kids share it, and you kind of open their eyes. Do you think that could be a problem if everyone equally shares it, and you pass away, who's going to make the decisions? Like, I remember I had a client, you'll get a kick out of this, Dan. He had 4 kids. He had a property right on the San Francisco Bay. It was a multi-unit, and it was beautiful, worth multi-millions of dollars. And he goes, I got 4 kids, Brett. He goes, one wants to move into it. One wants to renovate it. One doesn't care, right? And the other one's somewhere in between. And he goes, I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, yeah, this is why you should sell it while you're still alive, and just make the decision for them beforehand. And he's like, yeah. And I ended up selling his apartment complex in Folsom, California. It was like, I think 18 units. And that one worked out really well. But the point of all of it is you've got to be really clear on what's going to happen and have a vision for and not be head in the sand, right? And so getting clear on the kids. Gosh, did I catch it pretty good? And
here's the question.
Would you? Yeah, go ahead.
People may say, Brett, to you that, or if someone said, don't worry about my kids. They all are good kids. I raised them well. They're smart. They have a lot of money, and they're not going to be a problem, right? You're going to hear that. People are going to say that. They've said it to me. And so I have a series of questions I ask them. Is, are all your kids alike? Do they think alike? Do they act alike? Are they in the same economic phase of life? If the answer is no to any one of those, you're going to be a statistic. Oh, here's the next question. Are any of them married? Do you think the spouse might have an interest? Because that's half of the time, that's where the battle comes, right? Hey, honey, we deserve that portion of that income. Why are we not getting it? We need money for the kids, you see? So half the time it's the in-laws. It's not actually the kids. The kids say, no, I don't want to mess with my brother. I like him. I don't want to get him pissed off. And the wife says, no. We need the money now. Go fight for your family, right? That's how it all starts out. In our book, Property Decisions, actually I was really blessed because Gary Keller wrote the foreword.
Oh, yeah.
In our book. In the first line he says in the book, in the foreword, it says, most people think real estate is about property. It isn't. It's about the people. It's about people. People think real estate's about money. People think real estate's about the house with doors and windows. It's who gets to use it, who gets to enjoy it. It's the people.
Yes.
The human side of real estate that I feel like there's a gap in our industry, the real estate industry. There's a gap in understanding of how do they serve this person in a way that they want to be served. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be told what to do. Mm-hmm. They want to be asked.
So this is so good. This is a great tradition. You teased the 1031 exchange, and I want to tell you a story, Dan, and then I want to have a robust discussion around this. And so this is 2005. I started at Keller Williams. Then I moved over to Marcus and Millichap, 2006, selling multifamily investment real estate. I actually don't really get licensed in 2007. I'm playing basketball in college. Long story short, I start out and I'm all gung-ho, and people are doing 1031s, and it's like, business is booming in 05 and 06, and starts having some cracks, and then it really comes to a standstill in like 08, right? And I saw friends, family, and clients lose half or all of their wealth due to a couple things: not having enough liquidity, diversification, and oftentimes overpaying for properties via 1031 exchange. Now, be it, we were like gun-ho believers, and not that I still don't love the 1031 when it's a good fit. However, those who got hurt the most tended to not have those things: diversification, liquidity, capital gains tax deferral. In other words, they had overpaid in the 45-day window, 180-day close. Long story short, one gentleman in particular, he had $50 million of real estate. He actually started as a real estate agent. He had 2 sons, and he started to flip houses, then he started to flip apartments. the American dream. He went bankrupt, loses all his properties, really sad. And I never forget, I'm in this Starbucks meeting with him, presenting a proposal to try to list his properties. And I don't have a great solution. He goes, Brett, I wish I could 1031, but my debt ratio versus the sales price has to be equal or greater value. And the market's so red hot. And I've been cash out refighting for all these years that I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't even know if I can qualify for the next deal, let alone the other side of it. Even if I sold, I'm buying in a high market. I'm just going to hold. Well, the rest is history. The next 3 years, he loses all of his properties. It's really sad, loses his marriage. And, my parents were divorced at a young age. So I really felt like, real estate came between our family too, because we had all this wealth in the Bay Area, lots of houses we were building, renting, all this stuff, parents divorced. I learned a lot from that as well. But my point of all this is, I think what matters the most for a lot of people is having not just ability to exit, but to exit on their own terms, which gives them what's called truly passive income. So when you're looking at 1031 exchanges, I want you to talk about the ones you're talking about. You might be talking about the Delaware Statutory Trust, right? Or going into passive deals to help with these folks. Or you're talking about something else. And then I want to give you an alternative that might be of interest to you. Go ahead.
So I think the common element there with all those stories you said of failure with the 1031 exchange was debt. You take debt away, do you have a problem?
No.
There's your problem.
Yeah.
So the focus is people are chasing money, and they're chasing it by using somebody else's money at the bad time.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it causes it. But if you bought it a long time ago, like our clients bought it for $25,000, 30, 40 years ago, and it's worth $1.5 million today, and they have no debt. Do they have a problem? No, they don't have a problem, right? So the problem, I just want to focus on that because you're talking about the 1031 exchange being a problem, and I actually disagree. It's a problem if you over leverage.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a problem when you over leverage.
Yeah.
And when you over leverage, think of, are you stewarding wealth well? Right? It just goes back to the same question, right? Is that a wise decision to chase money, using money to chase money? Because that's what it is, right? And you're just over leveraged. So in my world and in our clients, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We have the money. If you're going to buy it, you're going to be able to buy it. Most of our clients buy in cash, to be honest with you, because they have so much wealth, right? So I'm not, my demographic isn't a 20, 30, or 40-year-old trying to chase the money. My clients, the guy that already built it, they don't know what to do with it. So that's the difference. Regarding somebody with debt, let's say I have $1 million asset, but hey, you know what? I wanted to build a pool for my grandkids, right? So I take out a couple $100,000. Now I have debt, which I never did before. To your point, I'm going to have to replace that debt, right?
Right.
That's the problem in today's world. But the leverage DST allows you to do it without that problem, right? You can sell a $1 million asset with $500,000 of debt on it and buy another $1 million asset tax-free with $500,000 of debt on it with a non-recourse loan. You don't take a mortgage out, right? And so there's good and bad with that as well, right? The good with that is if you die when you have it, then when it matures, your kids get the equity tax-free. The bad is if you have to do another 1031 exchange, you're going to roll into another leverage DST, or you're going to pay it off, right? That's just one route to go. The other route that our clients are using is the 721. 721, it allows them to never have to do a 1031 exchange again. So if somebody comes to me and says, Dad, I like the DST route, but I'm just, I don't want to keep doing this over and over. Then the 721 is the ideal route. They'll get more money. There's you have access to money while you're alive, tax-free, and your kids get a step up within 90 days to get all their money. Right. So our goal is to make it so that their investment property is easily liquidable, right? And easy to divide. Because when you make it easy to divide, the kids don't fight. Right? And that's our number one goal. Our number one goal is to prevent the family dispute, as it said in the title, avoiding family disputes. That is our number one goal. It's not making money necessarily. We know we're going to make money, but it's not like my clients don't need to have a 15% cap rate. They just don't. Because they got more money than they can spend already. Right? They're not a 20 and 30-year-old trying to hit for the stars and hit a home run all day. No, they're not. but they're the most stable clients we have. It's the young ones that are having trouble. It's the young, aspiring ones that borrow money. They do hard money lending. They borrow all this money and then find out, oh, dang, I'm upside down now.
Right.
That's where the problem comes. So for the world that we see the world in is it's like your parents, it's your aunties and uncles, even your grandparents.
Yeah.
That generation that built the wealth, now they're thinking, how do I steward it well?
Right.
And the 1031 exchange is the best opportunity for them to, and we call it unlocking wealth and repositioning it to something that matters to them without tax. And oftentimes in our markets, the cap rates are low. I mean, on average, what we see? We see 0 to 2%. Zero meaning because it's been vacant for 20 years.
Yeah.
No, 0 to 2%. They have these assets. They just don't know what to do with them.
Yes.
So when we sell them, when we put them into something at 5%, they're stoked. And I just doubled their money with no headaches, no hassles, no management, no tax, and no family dispute.
This is so good. I love it. So I'm going to offer you another, if you can, another just idea here, and then also add what's called the estate tax, which the 1031 does not solve for, and then let's keep building this. And this is really cool. So I agree with you everything you said. I think it's great. And Delaware's have their place, and 721s have their place, the leveraged DSTs. We tend to use the leveraged DSTs for debt over basis challenges, because debt over basis is even harder hit. It's ordinary income tax. If you do not, replace that, it's the highest. And, I'm originally from California, you're from Hawaii, New York, New Jersey, these are the highest tax states. So we've got to be really on this. And so here's some of the challenges I found with the leveraged DSTs. And I got securities license, and we work with advisors to do this all the time. There's no true diversification within asset classes. So it's just real estate, which, by the way, I love real estate. There's also not diversification of time, meaning if you sold in 2021 at the height, you also bought, or 2022 at the height, you basically bought at the height. It's 45,180. A lot of the Delawares are closed within the first 2 weeks of closing. So you're in that same marketplace. Now, to its point, it's completely non-recourse, which is great. Fees tend to be pretty high. I've heard as high as 10 to 15%. Returns are about 5%, which in a 0 to 1% cap rate, I agree with you, Dan. You're more than maybe doubling, maybe tripling their cash on cash returns if their ROEs are low like that. The next thing is it doesn't work for primary homes. So they would have to, and you tell me what your strategy is, but move out for a year or two, start renting it to establish that. Yeah, 2 years. And so sometimes people are like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to sell. So we did that. Actually, it's funny. One of the #1 KW agents in the world multiple times in Palo Alto. He's a client of ours, Dan. For his primary luxury home in Palo Alto, we did our strategy. Primaries do not qualify for a 1031, right? You have to move out for 2 years and establish that. So that becomes a hindrance. So our solution solves that. Also for business sales, Bitcoin sales, stock sales, ours works for. And then ours can also save a failing 1031 exchange. But all that being said, what we found that clients want is what's called truly passive income, which the leveraged DST and the REITs do give, and they want true liquidity, meaning if they needed something, they could sell a stock, Apple stock, Google stock, whatever, and get liquidity. And we do have clients that want to partner with their kids, talking about passing the wealth knowledge to their kids. Well, how do they do that? Well, they can help Johnny start a business through our structure, kind of like a self-directed IRA. So you can partner with the kids to actually buy that Airbnb property and renovate it, and on the beach, and that's our strategy. We can develop property from the ground up. So we don't have to do a 45-180. We can go into real estate passively or actively. We can go into stock market. We can sit on the sidelines and wait for the market to shift. We can go into hard money lending if we wanted to. In other words, we can create a truly diversified asset class and timing. And this is where the light went on for me, Dan. I said, hey, if I had a chance to sell in 2006, if I knew what was going to happen, what would I have done? Dan and we would have sold everything. We would have sold everything, at least in the states that really got hit hardest. Hawaii maybe a little different. And we would have paid all of our tax. And we would have waited, about a year and a half, and we would have started buying stuff at the courthouse steps, and we would have done that for as long as we possibly could, right? But what prevented people from doing that is having a strategy that wasn't liquid, wasn't diversified, was tied up with these Delawares. At that time, it was ticks. And these ticks, a lot of them crushed people. Now they're much better today. They're beautiful properties, great operators, all that kind of stuff, but it's still about 5%. And we found that our cash on cash is 8 to 10. So it's another level of of cash flow for families. Anyways, I'll finish with this. Estate tax, okay? So the big one that's the elephant in the room is this above 30 million married, 15 million single. So if I own in Hawaii, right, let's say $130 million worth of beach, Airbnb rentals, hypothetically, okay? And I'm married, I got a 30 million exemption. But if I die and get a stepped-up basis, yes, my kids will get a stepped-up basis on the one.
Stepped-up basis ain't gonna help you. But
you're right, it's not gonna help you, Dan, because immediately they're gonna say, hey, I want 40%. And I think Hawaii maybe has an additional on top of that. Federal is 40. I'm not sure what Hawaii is, but let's say it's 45, 50%. So that's $40 to $50 million that are due within 9 months. Let me tell you what most people do, okay, before they find us. Number one, they buy a bunch of life insurance, which, by the way, is uber expensive and only puts a Band-Aid on it, right? After you die, your kids get the life insurance and they can use it to pay it. But it's really expensive. Number two, they try to gift it away to kids as fast as they can. But they run out of kids and they run out of time, okay? Number three, they try to give it all away to charity, which nothing wrong with that. And if you do that, fantastic. But not everyone's completely 100% charitable. So we built a solution. Okay, by the way, it goes back close to 30 years, thousands of transactions, been through all the audits. We built a solution where they can sell to an irrevocable trust today. So you got to sell it. So Dan's got to list it on the beach. He's got to sell $130 million worth of real estate. But we're going to move the funds outside of the taxable estate. It's going to hit Charles Schwab, okay? This trust is going to sell it to the ultimate buyer. So the buyers get everything they bargained for. The properties have been sold. Now this $130 million is sitting, let's say, in Charles Schwab. They can hire their financial advisor in Hawaii. They're working with them. And all of these funds are diversified into whatever they want. Back into the REIT deals, back into other Delaware deals they want to be passive in, back into whatever they want, stocks, bonds, but it's a balanced portfolio. But here's the kicker. We've just eliminated 40 to 50 million of estate tax that the 1031 could never do, the 721 could never do. And to me, this is one of the biggest things that's missing because there's 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every single day in the US alone, and there's 80 million in the US alone, and it's about $124 trillion. So talk about stewardship. It's going to transfer from the baby boomers to the next generation in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's the largest wealth transfer in the history of the planet. And if it's not for people like Dan and myself and those that are on the front lines of helping people with real estate and business exits, this wealth will be, I think, no matter what side you vote for, pretty much wasted on either side on things that aren't very efficient. Yeah. And so I'll pass it back to you. What are your thoughts on all that?
Is there ever a tax incident?
So in this scenario, okay, so yes, as they receive payments back from the trust over their lifetime. So let's do this scenario. They're 70 years old, 130 million's in there. They do need to receive some payments over their lifetime. So as they receive payments, they're going to pay partial interest and partial cap gains based upon their life expectancy. However, let's say they live from 70 to 75. The note cancels and their children can be the beneficiaries of this 2.0 version I'm telling you about. And the kids inherit it estate tax free and typically capital gains tax free, okay? Now, if they live to 90, they're going to pay more cap gains tax over their lifetime. So that's our 2.0 version. On the 1.0 version, what's reserved for smaller, like $10 million deals and below, the kids can step into their shoes and they don't have to dip into the principal. And most people just live off the cash flow on the 10 million, and they only pay ordinary income tax on what they receive when they receive it. However, you'll say, well, real estate has some depreciation we can offset. Glad you said that, because our trust can partner with you into a new LLC and establish what's called a brand new basis. So my question for you, Dan, was you rather wait for a stepped up basis when you die 5, 10, 20 years from now, or would you rather sell today and establish a new basis with the capital through an LLC, which you can invest into those same real estate deals and get that depreciation over right now? You know the answer. You rather get it now than later. And so our strategy allows for the partnering with the trust to do your own deals, to get new depreciation. This is why we call it the Netflix versus the old Blockbuster 1031. By the way, I love a good Blockbuster. I think there's still one in Oregon, by the way. And when it works out and you find a great deal, fantastic. Our strategy, last, I'll put it back to you again, is we sometimes do a partial. We'll do a partial Delaware leveraged DST. We'll do a partial 1031, and then we'll do a partial one of our strategy, our 50-50. So I'm not saying it's a one size fits all, but what I'm saying is, what matters most to you, Mr. Client? And it's probably going to be a combination of the three. It's going to be something like this. Hey, I like to leak about 10 million or 30 million in the stepped up basis. And I like to eliminate the estate tax with the other. So let's sell the 130. Let's put a 30 into a leveraged DST or a REIT. Let's let the other 100 million go outside the taxable estate. And let's create a dream team to help execute this on a high level. So now it's back to you.
Awesome. Yeah, we ought to talk more about that. 100%, there's opportunities and strategies for the right people. 100%. Yeah, you'd have to have significant wealth, obviously, beyond 30. Anybody under 30, it still could apply.
Yeah.
It could apply.
It really can, because if you want to partner with the kids, you're right. You want a little more liquidity. You probably want a little more cash flow. It just really matters what matters to them the most, which is the most important question to ask when you start and starting to work your way through it. People want to learn more about what I'm talking about. You're like, what is this thing he's talking about? You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. I actually wrote a book with it. Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank's in the book called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan, and you can get that on Amazon. And we have other amazing people like Tony Robbins, CPA in the book, and Don Winter from DLP and other amazing folks. Just check it out on Amazon. Dan, we're way over time. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you go knowing what you know now, if you can go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget make sure to tell yourself to do?
Invest in real estate.
Excellent. Question number 2. What's the number one book you've recommended the most in the past year?
Recommend most? Gosh, the one I wrote, actually, Property Decisions. It's changing lives immediately.
I love that.
Because of the way people think about real estate.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to get a copy. Honestly, I'm excited, and maybe we'll do a book swap, me and you. What are you most curious about right now?
What am I most curious about? I'm curious where my future is going. Yeah, there's a lot of things happening for us, and I am very curious to. So I'm 62, just so you know. I'm 62, and I was last year. I was thinking I was going to retire, and then I had a conversation with Gary Keller, and Gary said, "You got to write a book." And I said, "No, I'm not a book writer. You're the book writer." Then I ended up writing a book, and now I'm traveling and training and teaching, and I have a couple of training companies for realtors. So.
Yeah, I love it, Dan. That's great. John Maxwell, one of my mentors, I just saw him again last week. I've had a chance to spend about 7 different times with him. He goes, when you can afford to retire, when you can afford to retire, you can't afford to retire. And he goes, and the reason is because all of the knowledge and the expertise is now compounding. And 1,500 families you've helped, and the billions of, it's like, there's so much good and impact that you can make. And John has said in the last 3 years of his life, he's made more impact than the previous 30. And it's a compounding effect. And I would encourage you, you should come to an event with me and John Maxwell someday if you haven't already met John. He's met a lot of people, and he's just an amazing inspiration for that. And he's going as strong as he can at about 74, 75, and he's his energy and his level of commitment is really, really inspiring. Okay, all right, I love that. Did I ask you number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Money is good for the good it does.
What do you mean by that?
Well, people chase the dollar all the time, but my question is, what are you doing with it? I'm blessed. I get to keep 90% of everything I own. I'm blessed that that's an opportunity for me. But I lived with one day to be able to live on 10% and give 90%.
Yes.
I'd like to flip that. I'm not there yet, but that's my goal. Right? If I could live on 10% of what I make and give 90%, I believe I'm going to be able to help this world be a better place.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Absolutely. That's really great. Next question. Number one way you're using AI right now?
Pretty much for everything. What do I not use it for? Gosh, I made a dinner and I had to use a recipe through AI. Everything I do is, I don't go to Google anymore. Everything is AI. I'm building slide decks through Perplexity. Everything is AI.
I love it. And we'll finish with this last question, and it's really the heart of why we're here at Build It to Billions podcast and YouTube channels. And it's having a mindset and a practice of stewardship over ownership. And so, Dan, what helps you to keep a mindset of stewardship over ownership?
That I believe God has me on this planet for a reason, and I'm the steward of what He's given me. It's not mine; it's His, and I believe that I need to be a better steward of it. Every day I ask myself, how do I become a better steward of what God's given me? My time, my talents, my finances. How do I do that?
Amazing. Dan Ihara, I want to just thank you for being on the show, sharing tons of wisdom. And I want to thank you for your heart for serving families at a deep level that helps to create lasting legacy between generational transfers and real estate transfers and everything in between that we talked about. Please keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting the good fight. Stay healthy and stay strong, because we need you as a part of the 124 trillion transfer. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, Dan, one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
You can just go to dannyhara.com.
Awesome. And the book?
Yeah. When you get to dannyhara.com, it'll give you a lot of free resources.
Cool.
And you can get a free book, too.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, Dan. I also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Build to Billions podcast. We're also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions, YouTube and podcast channels as well. And we're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions so we can give more all the way to help MVPs, the most vulnerable people. Like Dan says, making impact with the money to do good. I want to encourage you to take action today. If you know anyone at all who's considering selling any real estate on the islands, reach out to Dan. He's either going to help them sell it, or he knows an agent on another island who's going to help sell it and get it done. And he is masterful at what he does. He has a heart for service. And of course, if you have a large exit with massive capital gains taxes, we would encourage you to also consider using our services by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Works for businesses, Bitcoin, real estate, any asset of any kind. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to everyone again real soon. Bye now.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.